No? All right.
Nah, we're
No.
live. We're live. We're live. We're live.
Wow.
I'm giving us a woo.
I see that little orange
I feel
box
like
up top that
we
says
were
live.
mid-conversation about something completely unrelated. Oh, YouTube and Hangouts, you never end, never cease to amaze me.
Well, hi guys. Welcome to this week's Hangout video. And as you can see, we're caught unawares. Thank God, at least no one was taking clothes off or anything like that.
I was just about to. I was just about to.
All right.
I
So
may or may not be wearing pants. That's how excited I am for this week's show.
this week we have a few things, but first off, let's mention last week's winner. We gave you guys a very easy contest, and pretty much only two people responded. Boohoo, shame on you guys. But thank you very much for Mosi Man and Derek, right?
Derek.
I believe. Yeah,
Hmm.
Derek Blaney for entering the contest, and it was very simple. Just name your favorite Robin
Robin
Williams
Williams.
movie. That's it. That's all you needed to do. Subscribe, of course, to the channels. And the winner is Derek. His movie was Hook, so he gets to win a super secure Kingston USB flash drive right there.
Yep, USB 3 and then almost government level encryption built into it, so it'll nuke your data if someone tries to put in the password wrong too many times. And Derek, we'll shoot you a PM or a DM or something and get your info so we can send it your way.
All right, cool, cool. So we have that in tow. Let's get down to the business of the week. First off, Windows 9 announcement date. Looks like everyone's reported it. Tom Warren from The Verge also stated that, as well as guys from ZDNet. It looks like September 30th is the date that Microsoft will announce Windows 9. Now, I'm not sure if I don't think it's a actual launch for Windows 9, but more of like a developer showcase for Windows 9. So, what do you guys think? Because there's been this buildup of Windows 8 is finally over, thank God. Microsoft is moving something better. So, what do you guys think about Windows 9 announcement event?
I think people who actually understand how technology works and that it's not just the label on the packaging understand that Windows 9 is sort of what Windows 7 was to Windows Vista. It's like the service pack that fixes all of those problems in the UI and cleans up some of those issues, but it's really Windows 8.2. I mean, people who are like getting really lit up. But if you had called it like Windows Vista 2 or Windows Vista Service Pack 2, the stigma of that name would still prevent people from buying it. Oh, I heard Windows Vista was bad, so I can't buy that. And it's the same thing now. I heard someone said 2 years ago that Windows 8 wasn't good, so I can't buy a Windows 8 computer. That's how they talk. That's how people like that talk. So I'm happy to see them getting after the branding and the marketing side of this. We're going to call it something different, and then people will think that it's a totally different product or a totally new experience. But that's not how software works. Software works through iteration once you make these major changes, and we're still in the same ballpark. And if you haven't been giving Windows 8 a try, I've actually found it to be a pretty sophisticated and enjoyable user experience on the right hardware.
Okay. How about you, Sam?
I keep hearing about the start menu coming back, the start button coming back, and I
Hmm.
think that's like the biggest mistake ever. You know,
I disagree with you because consumers
hey,
are
hey,
slow.
hey, let me finish before you disagree, okay? All right?
Well, can you just finish his point? He needs to finish his point.
Oh, dang it.
Brought him on the
Finish
show
interrupting me
to
then.
share his experiences, to share his point of view, and you won't even let him finish his point. Let him finish his point. Can you finish his point?
Yeah, really. Whose
All
point are
right.
we talking about here?
I mean, we gotta be careful. Like this, where this gets like way too political.
No, no. What I was saying is, at the end of the day, start menu coming back. I think it's a bad step in the wrong. Like it's a good step in the wrong direction for Microsoft. People are going to embrace it. If this is true, people are going to embrace it as, oh, Windows is going back to its traditional start menu, like user interface. But people forget that sometimes user interfaces need to change because devices that we have change as well. And start menu removes that fluidity that we had with just using a touch device. From basically swiping from the right to left and just using that whole touch interface. It now takes away to having, oh, you can press the start button and do whatever now. Like what other UI, touch UI right now uses anything similar to a start menu? It is such a passe kind of idea that I think going back to it, it's just Microsoft acknowledging that it hasn't done a good job of explaining to people that that Windows 8 is not just a desktop UI, it is a unifying UI across all your systems. And the only place I see a start button being useful is on the desktop.
Okay, yeah, no, I definitely agree, and this is why I say that I disagree with you because all indications are number one. Let me slightly disagree with Juan first, since I'm disagreeing with everybody, right? I do agree
I
that
probably have it coming. It's what I do.
I do agree that Windows 9 is Windows 8.2, but there is some changes in iteration because they have unified the underlying code. So that's a big difference here for Microsoft.
But
Yeah.
isn't that more pulling Windows Phone into the Windows RT style environment rather than changing how Windows 8 works?
No, I know, and then incorporating that into Windows 8 so that your applications can go across the board. So
Okay.
that is, I mean, I call it more like an 8.5 update than an 8.2, but you're
But
still
does
along
that
the
really
lines
make
of.
sense? Does that really, like, sincerely, does that kind of functionality make sense in a world where it's one or the other? It shouldn't be.
No, 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 no. It
Has to
does.
be one or the other.
It does make
Hold on,
sense.
because I kind of want to hear what Enabong was going to say to kind of follow up outside of just the app environment too.
No, that whole constructive side. Now, moving on to the start menu, right? What all the indications from Microsoft is really trying to distinct between desktop and tablets. That the RT mindset that you're talking about is staying. That whole Metro is really coming to stay because all tablets will literally be Metro. That is what Microsoft wants to push. And then if you're on a desktop user, it's really more of, okay, now you can really pick and choose. So giving that idea of if you're on a two-in-one, or a tablet, you're really on a tablet. If you're on a desktop, then you have more of that traditional layout. So, and again, in the traditional layout of the desktop, you now have all your Metro apps working fully in there, not just the massive full screen, because I think that was what throws off a lot of people is no matter how you explain it to them, it's like my screen is covered. They don't get it. I mean, I've tried. I mean, it's not even a matter of Microsoft telling. It's almost like it's too advanced for most people. And I'm not trying to abuse anyone out there, but it almost feels like when you tell someone, oh, no, you just swipe from here. It's okay. I don't get the fact that there is no menu button or an Apple icon back in the left-hand corner. Like, people don't understand that concept right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we've been talking about Microsoft for a while. Is it doesn't matter how elegant the solution is, they have a major problem in communicating changes with their customers.
I agree.
I mean, and that really seems to be what burns them time and time again. And so when the main tactic that they have at their disposal is to change the name of their product just to get people to give it another chance, that's a tenuous relationship with their customer base that
That's
I
just
really
a
feel
failed
needs to be
marketing
addressed.
scheme.
Well, I mean, no, we can call it we absolutely can call it that, but I mean, every company goes through some type of naming iteration to denote change, to denote improvements, and so Microsoft has to kind of piggyback on that to avoid the continued reputation of Windows 8 tanking what has become a really enjoyable user experience for a lot of people.
It is,
And it's all in the presentation, because when you meet someone and you show them a Windows 8 computer, if your first interaction with them is, well, I mean, it kind of, and it's different, but you've instantly turned them off.
Yeah.
But every time I show someone like my Surface 2, I mean, it's Surface RT product, and I go, well, yeah, and I can do this, and I got that, and it's got Office, and it does that, and it has a keyboard, and it's pretty sweet. All of a sudden, people are interested in continuing that conversation. I mean, it's all in how it's presented, and I think Microsoft too often limps into a market and allows other people to take the narrative instead of actually getting in the grassroots. Right. They always go top down for the biggest bloggers and the biggest news outlets, and then those people don't understand what it is that they're communicating with their readership. And so then they've got to fight to go work backwards to change that perception after someone who's a big deal goes, oh, I don't understand how my hands work with this. It's unusable. I can't use it. and then we've got to fight that perception for an entire generation of products.
I definitely agree. The reason why I say that is I had a situation at Pepcom. I actually walked in. I was talking to the reps at Lenovo, and this lady was asking them about a 10-inch tablet, and they said, well, we don't have a competitor to the Surface, but this is what we have. And she's like, oh my God, the Surface Pro 3 is terrible. So I looked at her and said, why is it terrible? She's like, I can't type with that. I'm like, well, I'm going to edit all this video I'm recording off this. Can you explain to me why? She's like, I really don't like so, and I wouldn't mention the publication she writes for, but she's the kind of person that she influences a whole bunch of people. I mean, her user, let's put it this way, she probably can reach 2 million people really fast.
Does it rhyme with huh?
No, stop it. We're not naming names. We're not going to do that.
And her impression was like, she's like, oh, I can't use this and I can't, and I wish it was, and I'm like, what do you use? She's like, well, I'm a Mac user. And I said, okay, do you use Windows normally? She said no. And I'm like, then why are you trying to? I'm like, I understand it's a different shift if you're going from one operating system to another, let alone going from one version of an operating system to another version of the operating system. And I asked her a simple question. I'm like, can you do any of that on your iPad? She's like, yeah. No, I'm like, seriously, can you? No, you can't edit video. Like, nah, yeah. She's like, yeah, no, I can't. I'm like, then why can't you explain to users that if you really want to go to a desktop, you can just do a desktop experience, right? Or you can merge both, whichever way you choose, and show them how to use it. And she just didn't feel like answering because she, like you said, that top-down approach of giving it to those guys. I mean, with the Surface 3, they did try to change that a little bit. At least they had more people in-house.
Yeah. Well, but it became like a necessary reaction. If they had started that type of relationship with various blogging outlets and other evangelists and people who were maybe a bit more grassroots with the Surface One, I don't think we would be having the same conversation. Instead, they did their same traditional, we're Microsoft, we're the #1 PC manufacturer or PC operating system developer in the world, and so we'll give it to like 2 news outlets and a huge blog like The Verge. What? They don't like it? How could that be? It was totally pants.
3 people don't like it, and that basically shapes the outlook for everyone else, because that's where everyone supposedly goes to, or basically that's where everyone else is seeing the news coming out from. But I think at the end of the day, Microsoft's biggest enemy is themselves. They just they haven't figured out how to launch something and launch it right, and they've been doing that since XP. Or should I say?
I would disagree. They have learned.
They did it since ME, and then XP came out and solved that problem, and they did it with Windows Vista, and then 7 came out and solved that problem. They did it with 8, and now 9's supposed to come out and solve that problem. It's like every other iteration of an operating system is meant to fix the prior operating system, which is just silly. Now, why can't I have one Skype account between Windows 7 and Windows 8? Why can't I? Because once I jump onto Windows 8, I have to change my Skype account to match my Outlook account. Why can't I have things? Yeah. Yep. If it's not with if you don't have the same user email between your Skype and your Windows user logon, you can't merge them. You have 2 separate Skype accounts. There are things that they don't do well. I give it to like anyone who is basically not a big fan of them. Yes, you can argue that point to me any day. But at the end of the day, it's let's sit down and ask, what is everyone else doing, and what is Microsoft doing? Everyone else is trying to get to that point where it's a unified operating system. Microsoft is already there because it has a unifying operating system. The operating system is similar even with the Xbox. It works the same kind of way. It doesn't work as well as you see, or should I say it's not as unified between the tablet and the phone and the desktop, but you get the same feel from every single Microsoft device out there. And you don't do that even between iOS and an OS X. You don't get that same kind of fluidity until really recently, when they're trying to get that kind of app-driven mentality into their OS side. Even with Chrome, you still don't get the same kind of feel that you have on Android into Chrome, because one is a browser-based operating system, the other one is actually very geared towards phone. And all the attempts at taking Android and putting it into a desktop environment has failed. Even taking Android and putting it into a TV environment, that's failed too. But Microsoft continues to deliver. It is the only operating system out right now that that gives you a unified experience, but they just can't figure out how to launch a product and launch it well.
Okay, I'll give you something to Microsoft's defense. I think Microsoft is at the position now that we are seeing that everybody hates them. It's like everybody hates Chris. I kid you not. The reason why I say that, even though they have deficiencies, let's look at everybody else. Google has had bad launches, and what's happened? They've gone on a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the honest truth. They've got bad launches for certain devices or certain programs, and I mean, the only one that got the biggest harp was when they merged Google Plus with YouTube,
Yeah.
and that was because it affected YouTubers directly. So, but even that still just kind of faded away because you had no choice. It's not like the main press of media said, oh, Google needs to change it. I'm not going to use this service. No, they all just said, well, it's just part of life.
But you know what Google did that Microsoft didn't do?
What?
Or should I say, you know what Microsoft did that Google didn't do?
What?
Google didn't decide, okay, too many people complaining, we're going to split it back up.
No, they are splitting it back up.
They are splitting it back
What,
up.
they are? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I take it back then. I take it back.
But it's a quiet. That's what I say. That's like they give these companies, quiet. I mean, let me give you another bad launch. iPhone 5C, horrible sales, horrible.
People are
But
still buying it. Which is sad.
Not really. I mean,
No.
Walmart slashed their internal pricing on it to 97 cents on a 2-year contract. So,
Wow.
yeah,
now part of that is just the fact that we're getting up to the iPhone 6 launch and
Yeah.
they've got to clear old inventory, but that's
But
just
I mean,
it.
it's a
Like,
lot of old
that's an iPhone that has old inventory that they need to clear.
But that's not even old inventory, man. That's like last season's inventory. Seriously, it's not that old.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think yes, Microsoft has
Wow.
issues, but then again, the tech media now is strictly against that to a large degree. I can see, and this kind of goes to my next topic, which I can see them also like lambasting, is Microsoft. Word is that Microsoft will probably announce a Miracast dongle, like a Chromecast, right?
Mhm.
To me, it makes sense because if it's Miracast, it can work with any device. Not anything else. And if it's even if it's priced well, like you can shake your head, but you know what? It's just like the Chromecast. If they price it for $30, people will still bitch and complain. But it's a nice, simple, easy device that you can use with anything, whether it's your tablet, whether it's your laptop, whether it's your Android device.
Okay, actually, I come from it from this point of view. I really wouldn't need it anyway. But yeah, I see where people would.
Yeah,
need
yeah.
it.
No, you won't need it now, but I'm just saying that the people will. But if you have a Windows 2-in-1, if you have an Android device,
If you have a HTPC and run Windows 8, you don't need it.
yeah. But how many people? How many people are the mass?
It's okay, I'm awesome. Not everybody's
I mean,
as awesome as I am.
I like your solution is why buy a $30 stick when you could have a $2,000 computer under your
You
TV?
can build it.
Exactly. But that's the thing.
I
and,
like Sam. He's overkill like that. That's great.
and people are going to say that I have a feeling that when it's announced and when it comes up to like $40 or something, you're like, oh my god, it's it's just a waste of money. And I'm like, no, it isn't. It's actually open. It means you can use it. Doesn't matter when you switch devices. And it's say if Apple supports Miracast or to some level, I mean, then that means on every device it works. And that's why I say that it's an interesting thing that the way media plays. I'm just waiting to see if Microsoft announces that and say, hey, if it's $20, maybe people might be happy. But if it's $40, there's just no way on that. But yeah, but I mean, besides Sam shaking his head, what do you think about just them announcing the Miracast dongle? Juan, sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say. I mean, it's what they need to do. They don't have a direct competitor to Apple TV or the Chromecast, so the closest thing that they've got that has any kind of market penetration is the Xbox, and that's not really. It's the same thing we were saying. Is like, why have a $30 stick when you could have a $400 box under your TV? So what I'll be curious to see is execution. Chromecast started a discussion. Well, first of all, Chromecast opened up the doors on legitimizing some of this TV thing. Roku started the discussion in a way that really got consumers on board. Chromecast pushed it a little bit further by making it cheaper and then utilizing the phone to control your TV as opposed to forcing people to learn a new user interface. And so again, I'm not worried about Microsoft coming up with a decent product. I'm worried about them communicating what's different about their solution or what's better about their solution to their customers, so that the second it comes out, before people have even used it, I guarantee you we'll see why you shouldn't buy the Microsoft Mircast and you should buy a Chromecast instead, or why the Microsoft solution isn't as good as an Apple TV. And it won't be an apples to apples comparison. It'll be Microsoft didn't really tell us what the features were, and they gave it to, Engadget only, and then no one else has had a chance to play with it, but you've got 30 people piggybacking on Microsoft hate to write blog posts with bitter headlines, and no one will buy it.
But I think the biggest thing, or the biggest mistake a lot of people are going to make, is they're going to compare this device to the PlayStation Stream, or what is it called? The streaming box from PlayStation.
No, actually they won't.
I think that's at the end of the day.
I think people will. Again, it's like I think people will compare it to a bunch of things that it doesn't make sense to compare it to, because Microsoft probably won't get out ahead of what the media narrative on this thing should be.
Because at the end of the day, when it comes to home entertainment and Microsoft, what you associate with that is Xbox. That's their home entertainment box. Now, if you're making another box that isn't on the Xbox line of family, and you're basically putting it out there, people are going to make that mistake and make that comparison against Sony PlayStation's streaming box. And if this thing doesn't come with games,
no,
I don't see
it. I don't see it because it's a dongle, and the reason I'll tell you why is the Sony box already is a failure as it is. People are not talking about it. You just brought it up.
Yeah,
that's the worst part. You brought it up when no one was talking about it. What's your problem, Sam?
The thing is, I'll play neutral here in that I agree with Sam if they try to call this anything Xbox related.
Yeah, they should just call it.
If they call it the Xbox Live Streaming Stick with Miracast, then yeah, they're doomed. They are straight up. They have exited the market with any rationality or common sense. If they call it like, the Microsoft Live Miracast dongle or something like that, then I think you don't necessarily bring on some of those gaming comparisons. Like, people understand you can't game on a Chromecast, and people understand that a Roku HDMI streaming stick isn't really for gaming or anything like that. So, but again, people understand that because companies like Roku actually do a pretty good job of outreach. They get out there and they work with their customers at the ground level, at the grassroots level, in a way that Microsoft doesn't seem to be capable of until a product fails and they need to scramble to get people on board and make it seem interesting.
No, true. I agree on that. I agree on that part. That they tend to do that, and probably might. But I think maybe we've seen some changes because of how they launched the Surface, even though that was kind of ditched. You could say last ditch, but also with all the changes in the company, I think they are probably going to try and do a better push this time.
But where did they file this under? What line of product is this going to be under?
It's under mobile.
But does that really make sense?
It does make sense. You keep missing the point. Forget the stuff you have at home. Forget the stuff I have at home. Forget the stuff that Juan has at home. We're talking about our consumers, people who watch us here. If you tell people when you buy this $30 dongle, doesn't matter what device you have, all you have to do is hit the Miracast button, because every device now has Miracast. You don't have to download an app.
Okay.
You don't have to do Chromecast, right? You don't have to do the Chromecast. You just have to hit it and sync. That's it. I mean, it's like the way Miracast works now on smartphones is if you have a Miracast TV, as long as you're the same Wi-Fi network, done. Simple. That's it. That's all you have to do. So I'm just saying that as long as I'm not saying that they might do it well or not, but as long as you tell them that, then it makes sense, because now you're telling people that I'm not limited to my phone anymore. I can do it on my laptop. I can do it on a Mac. No, I'm not a Mac. I can do it on Android, Chrome, Windows. Every device. It's not just limited to one operating system, which kind of goes to what Nadal says, that we can't do anything on one operating system anymore, right? We have to make it open to everything. So if they're saying, hey, this is a Microsoft product, doesn't matter what you use, go ahead. I wouldn't be surprised they'll find a way to make it work with an iPhone. Because of the way Nadal's talking about opening everything up, it may work for the iPhone also. They're like, look, for any device you have, iPhone included, please use it. That will make more sense.
I just once again, I really, really, sincerely don't see how this can be a major move. Like, why this should be a major move for Microsoft, simply because even right now with the Play 2 feature on
Okay, dude,
Windows,
you
I
make a
don't need.
big
No, wait, wait,
mistake.
wait. Let
No,
me
no, no.
finish.
I have
Let
to
me
cut you
finish.
off.
Even with
I
Kill
have
us,
to cut
Mike.
you
Kill
off.
us, Mike.
I have to cut you off
tell us
because
why.
what you're doing is the same thing they do to Microsoft. You know why? When Google released the Chromecast, nobody cared whether it was a major. They were like, "This is cool. I'm going to pick it up." Microsoft is not doing the
No,
same
I
thing as
didn't
a.
say that for Chromecast, but I did say it for the Roku. You see, I was a fan of Roku
Yeah, no,
until
but
something
what
relevant.
I'm saying
Well,
is
and
you're
that's why
playing
your
to the.
fandom is sort of coloring your perception on, because I didn't like Roku and I
You know,
really
but
like the
I'm saying
Chromecast.
even that became irrelevant to me because it came to a point where you get a smart TV, you use your Windows 8 Play 2 feature, and you don't need any other box around your house. You just
Exactly, but what I'm saying is that you're
what?
talking from your perspective
No, no,
because you
and that's
have.
that's the only okay. So, but that's the only
No,
thing
no, no.
from,
But you
right?
have to go to the perspective of the consumer. Many people are out there looking for devices to use. You can't think from your perspective. You have to go, okay, if I have all these Christmas presents to buy, but I really want to, and I can't afford to buy that LG WebOS TV. Wow, this $30 little thing works for me and is great. I mean, that's how you have to think about it. That's how consumers think about it in the holiday season.
Well,
Again,
and also, I mean, not just consumers. You do have some tech-savvy people like myself. I don't want a smart TV. I don't want a different interface on my TV to get to things like Netflix. Netflix works really well on my phone. I just want to push one button on my phone and have it show up on my TV. I don't want to have to change a setting on my TV, go into a menu, look through apps, start up a new app, wait for it to load, and then look for content on Netflix.
hmm,
I already have a better solution for that, and it came from a $30 stick, not the additional cost of owning a smart TV. And so we've even given up on game consoles for media streaming in our household. We have two Chromecasts. That's how we bounce back and forth between different video streaming services now, because it's faster and it's easier than starting up a game console, as I don't let my game consoles run 24/7, starting up a game console and then starting up an app on the game console and then looking for content through a controller. That's a miserable experience after you've gotten used to just boop on my phone and there it is. So if Microsoft can start to approach that level of simplicity with some of their products, which I mean, like, I'm skeptical. I don't know that they deliver first gen uh, products like that. But that's where I think they still have room to enter this market. They won't make a huge splash because they're coming late to this party. But interoperability, consumers do kind of care about that if they have to manage multiple
Device.
ecosystems in their household. And if it's cheap, you'll get people to pay attention. I mean, right now that seems to be one of the most important features of any product, regardless of segment. If you can say it's cheap, people suddenly start paying attention. If it's a smartphone, if it's a tablet, if it's a computer. Oh, it's cheap? Well, yeah, I totally want to check it out. And that's really what they're going to have to bank on.
hmm.
Yeah.
I don't see where it would really work out. But yeah, you guys
Yeah.
make your arguments for it. I just don't
This
see
is
where it will work out.
Well, I mean, then let's be frank here. It's not going to be a smashing success on Gen 1 because it's new. Consumers never bite on something new when there are already other established ecosystems. You know, you can make the most amazing phone ever, but if it's a one-off phone, no one's going to pay attention until they see a Gen 2 or a Gen 3, some revisions, some software updates. They know that they can get apps. That's how they'll start paying attention to a new phone layout. And every product that fails just reinforces why they shouldn't ever take a risk on something new and why they should only go with something that's been established.
I'm not saying they shouldn't try something new, but I'm like, there's so many things that Microsoft does that, okay, let me put it this way. The only reason I would buy something like this, or the only reason I would recommend anyone buy something like this is if, along with all those other features, it also supports one of the features that they basically left out in some of their recent devices, which is basically Windows Media Player extension. If it supports that, then I'm like, hey, you know what? You need to go out there and
Yeah, see, but again, you're talking about yourself, dude.
no, no,
Dude,
no,
I'm
no. It's
sorry,
not just myself. No, no, no. It's
I
not
gotta
just
cut it out
myself.
because nobody.
And
Not myself.
And
Okay.
and also Lou Rod 76 agrees with me as he says in our Q&A. I have
Yeah,
both a smart TV and a Chromecast, and I must say, he has
yes.
to.
He
He
has
has to
to.
say it
He
that
is
the
agreeing
Chromecast
to
is
that.
better to work with, and the smart TV is a waste of money for what it does when you
Oh
combine it with
boy.
that.
All right, thumbs up. Let's do this.
Rod, I don't know
All
that you
right.
can question him. I mean, he's pretty much always right about everything when he agrees with me.
Especially
So
when he goes, "I am Groot."
I'm
I
Groot.
am Groot.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean that's that. But anyway, moving on to the next topic as Warren joins us here is so the HTC One W8, that's what I'm gonna call it. Just never
W8. No, we're all gonna make a pact now. We're gonna say I'm not even gonna call it the one
just call
anymore.
it
It's the
W8, right?
M8 and the W8. And the
No.
M8 has Android and the W8 has Windows.
Yes.
None of this M8 for Windows. That's the dumbest name I've ever heard.
You know what?
Yeah.
You guys are getting it wrong. You keep saying W8 when you should just say wait. Put the hands up.
The mate and wait.
The mate and the wait. Exactly.
Boom. We've
So-
even killed the number of syllables. W8. No. Wait. Wait and mate. Bam.
So I cut into the internal memos from HTC. Both devices have the exact same hardware. There's no change. They said it themselves. They're trying to do that moving forward, and the batteries are 2600 milliamp batteries for both devices. And you also have now they talk about standby time. Standby time for the M8 is 12.2 days. Standby time for the W8 is 15.5 days. The usage time for the M8 is 12 hours, and the usage time for the W8 is 21 hours.
Pixie dust.
What?
Magic pixie dust. That's
What?
what the difference is. Magic pixie dust.
Pixie dust, really?
Yep.
So
Oh, but wait. By the way, besides, can you guys hear me?
yeah, we can.
Yeah,
hear you.
yeah, you're on.
I was gonna say, were you guys talking about that Microsoft casting or whatever?
Yeah,
Before-
we just wrapped up Mircast. I got ugly.
hold on. Was Sam talking about how smart TVs are like supposed to be the wave of the future or something like that? Or was he supporting smart
No,
TVs? Home
no,
theater?
no.
I'm not supporting smart TVs. I'm saying I don't get basically why you need a Chrome device. I don't see that working for Microsoft. I
Oh
just-
yeah, it'll work for Microsoft just like it worked for Google. Because guess what? Nobody likes buying smart TVs. Anyway,
No, I mean, and also part of his explanation was like, why have I'm gonna oversimplify this, Sam. I'm gonna make this sound comedic, and I'm sorry to have fun at your expense like this. But I think the crux of his argument was why have a $30 streaming stick when you could have like a $2,000 HTPC or like a $400 or $500 game console.
that you can build on your own.
because I can go to my browser, click cast, it goes. Done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what we went through, but he's sort of on board the why use a hammer when you could nuke it from orbit just to be sure.
Or why even have to get a $30 device when the laptop you have right now, if you had Windows 8 on it, you could just go Play 2.
No, I'm afraid of spiders too, and I would rather use a flamethrower to kill the spider instead of like a little can of Raid. No, I'm totally
you
on
want to
board.
use a flamethrower? I say nuke it.
That's what it's the only way to be sure.
Far more elaborate setup than Chromecast. And those little dongles, it's all about I just set it, forget it, and it goes. And that's exactly what Chromecast accomplishes. But onto the W8, well, whatever the hell this.
Yeah, we're calling it W8 M8. So
No,
basically,
the mate and wait.
so what do you think about the battery life disparity between both devices? I mean, no one has officially come out and said it matches, but we'll see probably.
Who cares?
by next
Right
week.
now, who cares if anyone has actually verified this number? It's just better. Windows 8, the weight is just better. It's just amazingly better. It's like pixie dust in there. Exact same hardware, but they have pixie dust, and that's why you get 21 hours. Magic.
No, I think it's definitely important to always be sort of revisiting topics of things like efficiency. That's what Google is working towards with KitKat and with Android L, and especially because they're starting to find some success in the entry level and emerging markets. Countries that are just now starting to tap into 3G networks. But Android's Achilles heel has always been running on low-powered hardware. It's not as efficient in OS. It runs well on premier smartphone flagships, but you start getting down into like the $150 price point, and it's kind of a miserable experience compared to what you can do with Windows Phone. And so I think Microsoft's direction in focusing, it's because they've always sort of been the halfway point between Apple's locked down ecosystem and Android's wide open ecosystem. And I think they've done a better job of handling that type of efficiency, of keeping the code a little bit more reasonable and making sure that it can run well on lower powered hardware. So we should see a benefit when you slap it onto a high-end phone as well.
Yeah. How about you, Warren? Since he just said it's better, like that was his.
I'm not saying better or worse.
No, you. I meant Sam. Sam just said.
Oh, right.
And we should move on.
I don't know. To me, it's just like it's nice. Those numbers are there. I'd have just to see it in real world usage when they say these 21 hours and these 18 hours. It's like, that's nice. How does it work in real life? Does it get that number? Does it exceed that expectation based upon how I actually use it or how the user uses it? So to me, when they say these battery life numbers, they're relatively irrelevant to me. It's like, okay, how does it work in real life for someone?
Well, and I'll be curious to see how that compares to phones that are. I mean, because what's the battery in the 930/Icon? Is it 2400?
It's 24. You get close to about 24 hours with that.
But that's kind of what I'm curious to see is like is the hardware in the HTC W8 different enough from the Icon that we should see that type of battery disparity between a 200 milliamp hour difference?
Maybe. Or maybe
that's really
maybe uses so much more.
That's what I think is kind of interesting about the comparison, is because like it's not only going to be, I mean, it's not completely in its own little bubble of M8 versus W8. It's also, there are other phones that are using similar hardware and have similar battery specs. So I'm kind of curious as to where HTC got their usage numbers from. Kind of in the same way like when you're shopping a new car and you see the mileage estimate and you're like, no, that's probably a lie. When you stop and go traffic in California, there's no way that car gets 35 miles to the gallon. No way.
Okay. All right. All right, cool. Moving on to something else. Sprint, came back firing. So Sprint had
comeback kid.
Before we go to their plans, Sprint also announced the what's the device called again? The Sharp Aquos Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it's a mid-range device from Sharp. Sharp is entering the U.S. market. Have they ever been in the U.S. market?
Yeah, they have been in the past.
They have been? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've released phones. They've never really put a lot of marketing effort behind them. They're usually the carrier. Now that you've come in the door to look at a Galaxy S5, but you want something cheap, can I interest you in this Sharp?
Yeah, one of the things that they said quickly in the announcement was that because, of course, SoftBank owns Sprint, that, this was an opportunity to bring some of that device differentiation, which Sprint, is sorely lacking since AT&T pretty much rules the world on that one now. Mm-hmm. So they decided to, at least bring that over. It's a mid-range device. The cool thing about the device is besides the specs, is pricing. It's $149 on Boost Mobile, $239 on Sprint, and I don't know why it's different between Boost Mobile and Sprint. I don't get that.
Oh, it's because it's prepaid and postpaid. They did it all based upon Sprint. If you're buying it from them, you're going to sign a contract with them. Boost, you don't have to sign a contract with. And same thing with Virgin. So that's why the pricings are all different.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and that's the pricing. But the device looks pretty nice. Your thoughts on it, Warren? Since I know you saw it compared to the other two guys who were reading memos.
It's a pretty nice device. It's interesting. It's a nice entry into Sharp to kind of get their attention. I'm assuming if they get some good traction on it, they'll bring another phone out, maybe a higher end one, maybe coming down the road here. But from what it seems pretty cool. There's not a whole lot to say on it right now because we don't really have a lot of things about past history with Sharp, other than that they do really well in Japan.
Yeah, I think they're number one in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they are number one in Japan. It does help that they are a Japanese company, if I believe. So it does kind of help. That's like saying Sony and Nintendo do well in Japan. Well,
BlackBerry does well in Canada.
Well,
didn't think so anymore.
Apple does well in the United States. I mean, it's like, but
one thing I'll mention is the edge-to-edge display is very nice. Even for a 720p display, it actually is pretty vibrant. I don't know what technology.
It reminds me of the Razer M that had that same exact very thin bezel,
Yeah.
edge to edge, but it wasn't an HD display, I believe. I think it was like 960 by 640.
Yeah, it's very nice.
A very nice display and edge to edge, and still has the buttons on the side too. Thought you had to move that to get edge to edge display. Thought that had to be something.
Yeah, you have to put the buttons on the back, right, Warren?
Yeah.
That's the only way to keep the bezels that slim.
Is to put the button on the back. Oh yeah.
I really hope we get hate mail for that.
I hope so too. There might be some videos telling me talking about that. While I am using LG G3, and right now it's one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorite phones of this year, and I've gotten somewhat used to using the back buttons here. You know, even though I don't touch them that often, because knock-on really helps with a lot of that. Not really have to go back there. Just when you got to adjust volume and such is the only time you really got to mess with those back buttons. And the goofy way you have to take a screenshot. But going back to the Sharp phone, it's a nice phone. I think that's going to attract a lot of people. They have a pretty stock Android experience, which I think may or may not help them in the United States, depending upon how you look at it. It looks very, weirdly enough, it's Android 4.4, but it looks so much like Android like 4.2.
4.2. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very, very much like that. So they don't have a lot of customization, which, you know, the fanboys of Android and the hardcore enthusiasts will be happy about. But I think that some of those value adds are a lot of times what helps Android phones sell.
Yeah.
Consumers help them, get to it, and it doesn't have a lot of that. I mean, if this phone came with Android L or something on it, where it's a lot more mature in terms of stock Android, then yeah, okay, then maybe it could work out that way. But the only thing they really customized on it was the camera. I think the camera UI is different, but other than that, everything else is the same. So it's a phone that probably not a lot of Sprint people are going to buy, but a lot of people on Virgin and Boost Mobile will probably take that phone. Yeah, they probably will get it there. Sprint users, there's too many higher end options for them that are just at a better price.
No, but I actually think that's an excellent point, is because the first thing I thought when I saw it was, we finally have a phone that's going to give a little bit of style and aesthetic competition to all of the Kyoceras and LGs that you find on like Boost and Virgin. And those aren't necessarily known for being the prettiest phones. So if Sharp can walk in and make a little bit of a dent there, then I think they can start building a customer base here in the United States.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. Moving on to their plans, Sprint also announced a $60 unlimited plan. Yeah, that goes against what T-Mobile offers at $80 for their full unlimited.
Well, first of all, just like the whole saga of Sprint and T-Mobile battling each other is something that I've been waiting for a while. Like, T-Mobile for the longest time has had AT&T in their sites, like all of their snarky press. And if I would highly recommend, if you're into tech, go to the T-Mobile press room and just start reading through their press releases, because they're some of the funniest press releases I think I've ever read.
Yeah.
But so Sprint announces their shared family data plan. So they have a family plan that does have a data cap. And so the next, 2 days after they announce that, T-Mobile announces their refer a friend and they get free data for a year promotion. And they spent so much time focusing on the shared data plan that they completely missed that the same day they announced that Sprint had put out an unlimited data plan at $60 a month. So you can pick. If you want to manage a family of devices, you can do their shared data plan, or if you want to do unlimited, you can do single lines, unlimited, $60 a month. Nice. And it was actually kind of cool to see a company catch T-Mobile by surprise with the press release, because in the Sprint press release they even put a dig on T-Mobile about, well, you don't need to ask your friends for referrals, you can just have unlimited data for $60 a month. Bam, drops the mic. I mean, it was pretty sweet. I love watching companies fight each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have no idea who has plans or what or anything. I've given all the hope on knowing what anybody pays for a cell phone and what the hell they get. They change plans faster than people change underwear these days. I mean, in 3 months now, they're reverting back to what they used to do. Every 3 months, new plan, this new plan, that new plan. Everybody's gonna have all these different plans. Why can't we just have 2 plans? They're just limited and family, and just have everybody pay the same amount. Who cares? And if they can't afford it, send them down to the prepaid level. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Just make this simplified, because this is just, I don't know who has plans for what, and I don't care half the time anymore now. Somebody's got this cap, somebody's got that cap, somebody's doubling your it's like planning. Cell phone plans are like my favorite game show of all time. Press your luck. You have
No
no
whammy, no
idea
whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
you have no idea what you're gonna land on. You got about 7 spins, and somebody passed you, like 5 of them. You're trying to figure out where the hell to land. Hopefully you hit big bucks. You don't know. You just don't know.
Well, you kind of know with Sprint, right? You know exactly where you're going to land with Sprint. You're going to land with like oh, you know what? Let's even make it this. Sprint is letting you have $10 unlimited. You're going to pay $10 and get nothing, because unlimited of nothing. All right? When your service sucks, it doesn't matter if you give it for free. People still don't benefit from it. So I would pay $80 for a family plan that actually has a data connectivity than freaking $60 for unlimited, where I get no signal in my own damn apartment when I first moved in and I actually had connectivity. So it's like, no, Sprint, you still don't win.
No. I mean, that's what I like about. I don't remember what his name is. The new CEO has actually been very public about, we can't compete with AT&T and Verizon's network, so we're going to start with competing by pricing, and then at the same time they're going to start rolling some of that SoftBank cash into network improvements and upgrades. But
when they're done with that, let me know.
Sitting back there just waiting for Sam to go on the Sprint rant. He was just waiting. He's just like, I'm waiting. Here it comes. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, but I understand that part, but I think they really need to look at how T-Mobile handle theirs, because T-Mobile's what's their thing on carrier? The first 3 on carriers were all about network. That's all they did. They literally just started rolling out. And I remember when, I think it was like the 3rd on carrier went to the event, and they sat down with their chief technology officer, and he said, they were talking about their rollout between LTE, and he said that we're doing 50-50, and that's up, down and up. So basically trying to match those compared to, he was comparing it to Verizon and AT&T. Realized like they didn't do that. Like we have to, because we are trying to play catch up. We can't even do this same type of rollout. So until Sprint comes out and says, look, this is what we're like, the pricing is great. It's nice to do pricing, but once the consumer jumps on and realizes that they can't get service, they will jump out, and then T-Mobile allows them to jump out for free.
Yeah.
No,
I agree, but I mean, also
Can we go to the Q&A real quick? Lura just mentioned something. Said there are rumors of it getting capped at 2.5 gigs that he read this morning. So is he talking about Sprint or T-Mobile?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Sprint's Unlimited, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's at some threshold in which you get throttled. I mean, no plan is ever unlimited.
No, T-Mobile's is 5 gigs. It used to be 2.5 and then moved it to 5. So T-Mobile.
And then I think, isn't it like on the legacy plans for AT&T and Verizon, it's something like 5 gigs too, I think.
Something like
where
that, yeah.
they start pumping the brakes for you if you start getting too into using your data. I wouldn't be surprised if Sprint does the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about moving away from their fully unlimited. So, I mean, like I said, until they get at least their network to start giving, especially in the cities, if you at least do the major cities, so that at least that, okay, fine, you're in a rural area, then that's difficult. That's understandable, But when you're in, New York City and you're not getting any signal.
But the thing about T-Mobile and their Un-carrier announcements is that their network upgrades and improvements were always accompanied by some gimmick that was actually really cool. Like when they first started talking about their aggressive LTE rollout, at the same time they're also talking about free calling and texting worldwide, and they were one of the first carriers to roll that out. And so if Sprint can't find some novel features to enhance their network perception, then it doesn't. You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter what they do with pricing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even really matter if they start improving their network, because while Sam had the best response, I'll wait until it's done. Like consumers will sit there and just watch it happen, and then we know that most people won't really change their behavior. They'll say things like, "Oh, well, I'll get that when it has this," and then it'll have that, and you're like, "Oh, but I already have this with my other person, so why would I change?"
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see, at least we see some positive movement from Sprint, and I like where this new CEO is going. He's actually vocal. He's actually starting to mix it up with T-Mobile. He's actually trying to make this a fight. So that's where I'll sit back and munch some popcorn.
All right. So before we let Sam continue to lament on that
Oh
aspect of
no,
Sprint,
no more
No,
lamenting.
just shut it down. Shut it down.
yeah. Samsung. It looks like Samsung's VR headset has been outed. Okay.
Oh no, I was listening to all the people going, "Yay!"
Let me
Crickets.
let me share a screenshot of what this VR headset looks at, so you can be VR troopers on here. And so that's what
Wow.
it looks like. There's a black and it looks like gold.
Is
Oof.
that a
Man, it looks
camel?
like a Galaxy S5. Awesome.
Yeah, just taped to your face.
Face, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So,
Seriously, this VR stuff it's a real thing now, huh?
but I mean, it looks like theirs is being made by Oculus, but they're designing theirs themselves. I don't know. I don't know if you put your S5 in there, your Note, or it's plugged in and powered by the device. Yeah,
You know what? I prefer the Google one where you just put the phone in and put a
In
cardboard
cardboard.
box on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say how refreshing it is to see a company like Samsung, who makes literally everything and the kitchen sink, reach out for a partnership? Not trying to reinvent the wheel, not trying to make something proprietary which will only work with other Galaxy products or other Samsung products. They reached out to Oculus, who have a ton of momentum right now in terms of driving the discussion on VR, and that they're going to work with them and then just make the packaging a little bit prettier. I'm stoked. That makes me happy.
Yeah, true. There's something to be said for that.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what turns out. So besides the VR headset, there also looks like there will be a Gear 3.
Woo!
Reports indicate, and everybody's like, "Wow." The reports indicate it's gonna look more like the Gear Fit, in terms of styling. Maybe a little larger display, but it would have that curved rectangular display altogether. And no word on if it's gonna be Android Wear or what's the other software? Tizen, which they currently use. But any thoughts? Do you think it's too early, or you think Samsung should just stick to Android Wear and just call it quits?
If you're gonna make a flagship phone that's Android, you might as well just stick to Android Wear and just let everybody get the benefit out of having a true pairing between your phone and your smartwatch. That's
No, I
my
disagree. I think smartwatches are wide open right now. I don't think anyone, even Android Wear, I don't think they've landed the magic
Yeah,
bullet
like,
on
well,
what
yeah.
Oh no,
smartwatches should be.
I've been using
Smartwatches
Android for the last
suck.
couple of days. I
Anyways.
think okay. Definitive word. End of story. You're right.
No, I mean, like, because actually the smartwatch that I'm actually most excited to check out in the coming months is Timex.
Yeah.
Oh.
The GPS one. First of all, can we stop calling products one? They're calling it the GPS one. You're like, oh.
They
Um,
all go into a room and decide this. It's the same people that go into the room yearly and decide what colors to wear. There's going to be fashion for the year. Same people.
driving me crazy because if we keep naming things numbers, eventually we're gonna have to get to the number 2 at some point, maybe. But no, I'm actually most excited for that because they're borrowing some of Qualcomm's tech to produce that. So we'll finally have another watch with a color display that you can read outdoors in sunlight for people who occasionally like to go outside. So that I'm actually most excited for, and it allows you to have an always-on display with more than 1 day battery life. So Android Wear, while I'm sure the user experience is fine, I still haven't really played with one for very long. You can't get over some of the usage quibbles of things like it's going to die around the same time that your phone will if you use it a lot. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. So I don't think, even with Android walking into the market, that they've nailed down what a smartwatch is or what a smartwatch should be. So I think Samsung should absolutely keep running with literally their kitchen sink approach to just throwing shit at the wall until something finally sticks.
Yeah, I definitely would agree, but it'll be interesting to see where it turns out. We'll wait till September 3rd for that
Well,
announcement.
and I mean, like, out of all of them, I liked the form factor on the Gear Fit the best, but it needed refinement. It needed a little bit of a touch up. So for them to go back and kind of fix some of those little, I mean, I don't even know what to call them. They're like some of the stuttery screen issues, and then how the display would orient information depending on if you wore it on the inside of your wrist or on the outside of your wrist.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a few things to refine on the Gear Fit, so I'm happy to see them doing that. I think people who were early adopters on the Gear Fit will be pissed though if that's what it turns out to be.
You know, these companies used to have
Smartwatches suck. Anyways,
they need to have like bye-bye programs.
They're $300 notification centers. That's what they are.
But I kind of dig my talk, man. I still think it's one of the better all-rounder experiences for me to not have to stare at my phone all the time.
You gotta find something that's
about the
useful for these things, that's actually useful.
It is about the quantified lifestyle. To me, that's just the way.
It's first world problems. That's what it is.
That's what
first world problems.
Smartwatches should be more about quantified lifestyles rather than just notifications. And I think a lot of people are missing the boat the more and more they keep on trying to make it about notifications. Notifications are great, but being able to measure stuff that has to do with your everyday life, where you can actually go on there and see a graph of when you're active and not active, see a graph of when you're sitting, see a graph of how many messages you get at a certain time of the day, basically be able to plan your day and your life out. That's where I think wearables come into play. But just making it a watch with notifications doesn't do it for me.
But the problem with that is that they're going the wrong way. The service, the software has to exist first before the hardware does. They have to make that work and then sell the hardware onto it, a la how iTunes came, then the iPod came. Sort of that way. You have to sell it that way. You give a service that does all those things.
iPod came before iTunes.
I mean, yeah, iPod, then iTunes. Well, but iPod sold a lot because of iTunes, and that's how you're going to push more hardware out.
No, definitely, the software plays a big part in it, and that's why I thought basically pairing it up with Android Wear probably is the best way to go, because then you're basically having a version of a operating system that's already getting a lot more mature on your device. But I still agree with what Juan is saying, in that it's still anyone's game out there. So basically,
I mean, it is definitely anyone's game. Plus, Android Wear to me it's
a first generation software.
It's
good. It is. Let's be realistic about it. For a first generation software, I believe it's good. There's a lot more it can do, but it's
disappointing. It's disappointing because Google had enough. To me, I hate the idea of first generation software when you have leeway. Samsung has already released 2 Galaxy Gears. If you're Google, you go, okay, fine, this is the bloody mistakes they made, so let's improve that and do this. And then when you're using it, you're going, why can't I find my settings? I have to do all this scrolling.
Yep.
I mean, really.
That's the problem. It's designed to work primarily with a phone. You cannot use your Android.
No. But every other smartwatch, even the Galaxy Gear, to find the settings is not a hard thing.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not as hard as going through Android Wear, and also even Android Wear, and the fact that 1 day battery life, to me, that is just rubbish.
The battery life is definitely a problem, yeah.
I mean, we're having conversations about usage scenarios, and what you're talking about is a device which enables at-a-glance computing. It serves up small pieces of information in a way that's easy for you to interact with and dispose of, so that you're not constantly having to use your phone for that same service. So, what a watch is it's an at-a-glance notification center for the time. If you have just a regular watch, that's what its purpose is. So to have one where the battery can die after a day's worth of use is problematic, but it's also my biggest pet peeve with the Gear, in that the screen by default is off. So you either have to push a button or you have to enable a gesture, which never really works consistently for me, like flipping my wrist over to try and get the screen on the Gear to turn on. So that somewhat defeats the purpose of having an at-a-glance notification system if I can't even just glance down and look at the time without waggling my arm around to try and get it to turn on. So you're making compromises there. But that's why that's why I'm so puzzled by Google's stance, where they said, okay, well, we want an always-on screen so that you can do things like look at the time on your wrist, like any watch should be able to provide you, but we're also going to reach out to manufacturers that use LCD or AMOLED screens, which suck in outdoor viewable situations in direct sunlight and use a ton of battery power.
Yeah.
because you can't put a big battery into a watch. I mean, what the LG is a 400 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah.
That's tiny. So to have a screen running all the time on a 400 milliamp hour battery, of course it's only going to have 1 day battery life.
But you can tell they try to write the software in a way where it doesn't use as much power. When you go to the always on, it switches to
Absolutely, and it goes to
switches to
a
white
low
text on
brightness
black,
mode,
yeah,
and
white text on black background and stuff of that nature, like stuff like that. But yes, definitely battery life is a big question mark, something that needs to be answered. But I think for usability, I wasn't a big fan of the Galaxy Gear, and I didn't get to use it. I didn't use it as much, the first generation, as much as I would have liked. But the second generation, I didn't even use it at all. But the real cool thing between between this and my experience with the Galaxy Gear is, I took out the LG G Watch, paired it to a phone, I got the Android Wear app, it worked. It didn't matter if it was a Google edition or it was, a Samsung, stock edition. It worked. If it was HTC One or any other version of the phone I had, it worked.
Well, but I mean, we've been playing with that with the Martian, the Pebble, and the Talk. I mean,
Yep.
all of those have been pretty well cross manufacturer. I mean, the Pebble even being cross platform. But that's also been one of my favorite features of the Talk, and being able to control notifications and work with a variety of different phones while always providing fitness tracking if you want it. It's not like you turn on a pedometer and then have to turn it off later. It's still proven to be, I think, one of the best all-rounder experiences, which is just a shame that it doesn't get more support.
No.
And I don't know that we'll ever see a Talk 2.
No, that's the thing.
with
I was
Qualcomm.
big on asking questions to Qualcomm anytime I saw them do a rep. So like, okay, what are you doing with the Talk? What are you doing with the Talk? What are you doing with the Talk? And the answer seems to be nothing. It's a
Yeah.
reference design.
Well, I mean, they rolled out a number of really exciting updates. When it first came out, it was just for notifications, and you could check your stocks and the weather, and then you could use it to dial out. So you could push a button on your watch, and then it would call one of your favorite contacts. And then they unlocked the accelerometer, so then we got fitness tracking, and then they unlocked the microphone, so now you've got speech to text. And it works better than my car. I have a $250 watch that can transcribe a spoken text message easier and better than my car can. So I mean, their problem though is that they still keep treating it not like a consumer product, but like that reference design. All in all, I think it's still proving to be one of the best smart wearable experiences you can use. But I'm hesitant to recommend it for everyone because we don't know if it'll continue to get any support, and we don't know if Qualcomm will ever release a second generation, a Talk 2. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, well, moving on to another company. After that long discussion on Galaxy Gear,
It's worth it. It's a good discussion. It's wearables. Wearables are the future.
Comcast has announced it's delivering TV over internet to schools. So a bunch of schools are part of that program. Basically, what it means that instead of you having a box and a TV, all you need to do is basically just sign up, and you must live on campus is what they say, but it's going to be delivered to you as IPTV. So basically, you just sign up. You can use your app or your mobile device or your browser, and it gives you 80 channels, some sports, as well as you can add HBO and stars on there. No word on pricing, but since it's for students, I'm sure this could be part of their regular student pricing plans altogether. But what do you guys think of the idea of them actually moving out IPTV in the US? This is the first time I think any company has really made a major push for it altogether.
Do they have to pay to open up the pathways to
Who?
get direct access?
The students? No. I mean,
No,
they're the ones who
Comcast. Will
do.
Comcast TV have to pay Comcast broadband for
Uh,
direct access? I'm just wondering because Netflix had to do it. So, because I just think it's kind of monopoly right now. Hey, let's charge Netflix so we can now do our stuff, but we don't have to charge ourselves. So I'm just wondering how that works.
Hey, I'm just saying.
I think we all saw this coming. We all saw it coming. We all knew it was going to happen, especially when they're trying to basically play favorites by basically blocking what Netflix is doing with delivering their particular media-driven Netflix content to users. Now they're coming out and basically saying they're going to be doing the same thing, basically using your broadband connectivity to push your TV signal to push your TV media to you. So to me, it's just okay. We control the pathway, so we're going to stop one person and do our stuff. And I don't know if it's going to be a great service or not, but right off the bat, it's like, all right, how come this is not a monopoly? Like, how come no one's talking about that? That's to me, that's the biggest news, rather than they're pushing it
Because
on TV.
it's not something that's direct into people consumers mindset. For consumers, you're looking in as this like the first thing most consumers go is like, oh wow, so I don't need a TV, I can still get TV on my phone when I'm in college. Great. I mean, because most college students are either your roommates are buying a TV together, or one person buys a TV, so you don't necessarily have to have a TV. That's the mindset here they're going with. And that's what most people are looking at and going, and that's what I've been clamoring for years, is that we don't need to have a box in the house anymore. You should be able to deliver TV over IP, so that you can take it anywhere with you. I mean, because with this service, you can actually log in from outside school and watch your programs. So that's the whole. I mean, that besides the fact that they are using Netflix to pay for this in a sense.
So
it's
here's
still a good option.
here's where, because you guys know I'm not a big fan of Comcast or Time Warner. Here's where I'm going to give them a little mini kudos, is that they need to start playing the PR game smarter. They are one of the most hated companies in the world. Every single tech blog takes no small amount of glee in writing negative headlines about Comcast whenever they have the opportunity to. And exactly what Sam's bringing up, there are a lot of logical disparities in, our network's getting hammered by Netflix, but here schools have free HD streaming video. That won't hammer our network at all. So what's smart about this is it's a goodwill gesture. If students get to benefit from it, that's fantastic, and I'll say awesome. I still have issues with the company, but this is a good play in changing the narrative on them sucking as hard as they can for certain areas and having miserable customer service whenever people decide to record their experiences with Comcast, and that's all we can ever seem to talk about. I will always say that it's a success when a company like AT&T or Comcast or Time Warner decides that they need to do something to compete. When we start seeing fiber rollouts from municipalities, and when we start seeing Google entering certain areas sometimes. So if that's what it takes, then awesome. But on the whole, I think they're probably not going to get a lot of positive press from it.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. They're rolling this out. This has already kind of been out. This has been out for at least a year now. It's just that it was exclusive to X1 customers. I've actually had it for a while. What they're talking about, basically you can log in from anywhere, and you essentially can just, they won't have it connected to the X1, like we can get your recordings and stuff like that in the same way, I think.
No, there's no DVR functionality.
There's no DVR functionality with it, but it's essentially, you're going to see that menu and interface. That
the DVR functionalities right now is limited because the FCC has not let them set up cloud DVR. They have that. That was initially the part of the X1, but they had to take it out.
The X1 is
the X1 update. Sorry, the latest update for update. Yeah, but they actually had to take it out because the FCC, for some reason, says no to cloud DVR. Don't know why.
No. It's still there. The problem is that you can't take it outside of your own vicinity.
Yeah, exactly. Which
take it out of the home.
I don't call it cloud. Yeah, that's called it download to your device.
You just can't go to the neck. You can't go to your buddy's house across the street and log in and get all your DVR settings. It just all your stuff it doesn't work that way, which is mind-bogglingly stupid. But that's sort of the problem with it. But this is more of a play to reach a demographic they've been wanting for a while, which is getting students that are moving in, recently, or getting apartments and stuff like that, and trying to get them to not only have internet but also have cable television as well at the same time. And I think the whole offering TV through the internet connection, it makes the most sense for them. I'm not sure they're not charging anymore. How much are they charging for this? I forgot.
No word on pricing, but
pricing
it's probably similar to what they usually do for student packages every year.
So it's probably included in there with it. So it's just giving them essentially the TV to go along with the internet package, that the internet only package they usually get with it anyway. So I give them credit. They're trying to push to get this, to get TV on the eye, where people are watching, which is on their computers and stuff more than they're watching on the regular TV and stuff like that. But it's going to be the same thing. Comcast is in the position that Microsoft is in, the position that a lot of other companies are in when it comes to media and PR. People will far more take a shot at bashing them for the one bad thing they do versus the 20 other things that they may or may not do good. It's just going to be that case for them. So I'm not as big of a, I'm not as mad at Comcast as I used to. A while ago, I used to couldn't stand them, but I'm not as mad at them about it because I have to give them credit. They have done things that they've tried to improve. They're not quite there yet, so I don't have the same ill feeling that Juan has towards them. I mean, the whole Netflix thing and all this other stuff that's been going on. But I've always been, when people complain about bandwidth, I've always sat here and said it's all about the sucky infrastructure that we didn't build in this country. Well, Comcast did. No one else decided to do that at all. If you remember 20 years ago, if you were in an area that had, maybe it could have been called Cablevision at the time or Comcast maybe at the time, and they came outside your house and they say, hey, we want to install this gray box outside your house, because they were saying it was fiber. That reason they were doing that is for the reason they know that bandwidth can expand. They knew at some point people are going to want more bandwidth and more things are going to be coming down the pipe. Not every telco did that. A la Time Warner didn't do that everywhere. Comcast actually did do that pretty much everywhere they went around. So when they really are kind of running the backbone of everybody, they're kind of telling the truth with that. And that's been the biggest problem in terms of getting bandwidth, in terms of getting good network connectivity, in terms of getting these services out there. Our infrastructure in the U.S. sucks. It sucks a lot. And I really wish I understand that people want to focus on neutrality. I really just want people to focus on getting these companies to build a solid infrastructure in the United States, so we are like Korea, so we are like those other countries that have 100 megabit pipes coming down without a problem. That to me is far more important. I want fast internet. Worry about neutrality later. Let's get the infrastructure in first, because we don't even have that.
All right. Cool. Makes sense. Anything else you guys want to add this week? Any other news, speculation?
I think we got full specs properly released for the BlackBerry Passport. That's pretty exciting, right? Everyone, BlackBerry fans? Anyone?
Somebody here.
It's a square screen. It's got a keyboard. Kind of funky.
Canadian, you most likely like it.
I mean, it does actually look pretty cool, and I do miss the sort of little tic-tac keyboard experience from my old Blackberries. But I don't. It's kind of a funky, really wide design, and that square screen kind of weirds me out.
It looks like the Viv.
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see. A couple.
Do we have any uselessness of the week?
None that I can.
Well, this is useless, but it's kind of funny. I don't know if anybody's been watching or saw, how they have all these ice bucket challenges and stuff like that. Has anybody seen 50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather challenge each other? 50 Cent, man. If you watch the video on that,
it's pretty brutal.
It's pretty brutal. And then the next day, the Breakfast Club kind of got into Floyd too, and there's this, oh man, this is why you don't say things to certain people. And like 50 Cent has an entire team just to make fun of you. He can hire a staff, and that's all they do. That's all they do. If people don't know what I'm talking about, I guess what happened is Floyd Mayweather was talking trash about some rappers, saying how they don't last, and I guess 50 T.I. and all that got listed, but then reports say he didn't list them or whatever the case may be. 50 Cent saw that, he's going to get up and say something, so he was like on Instagram, he was like, well, I challenge Floyd Mayweather to read one page out of a Harry Potter book. And if he can do that, I will donate $750,000 to a charity of his choice. And then he follows up. I guess Jimmy Kimmel contacted and said, hey, he can read it live on the show. So Jimmy Kimmel, he said, oh, Jimmy Kimmel said, if you do it, you read it live on the show, and you can do it right there. And we don't want to put too much pressure on you, Floyd, because we know those are some big words in the Harry Potter book, so we'll let you read Cat in the Hat instead.
Oh.
Now this is where it got kind of mean. Now, I think you guys are familiar with the Breakfast Club. You probably have heard of it. If you don't keep up with it all the time, maybe you should have heard of like Charlemagne the God and all those guys, prominent radio, internet personalities in that medium. So Charlemagne, he clearly gives no F's at all about anything. And if you know him, you watch him, he doesn't care. He'll clown anybody, any point, any time. So Floyd Mayweather, when a celebrity goes and does radio, they usually do drops. You guys know what drops are, right? When they sort of just do advertisements with their voice and stuff. So when you hear in the commercials, they're saying, "Hey, you're listening to Power 105," or they're doing some sponsorship to do the drops. So they play the unedited Floyd Mayweather drops, and he was struggling kind of bad through a 10-second drop. And it just was like, oh man, it's just.
I mean that's really unfair because people can struggle with.
Yeah, now some people
anything in media. I mean, especially when you're doing it live, or not live, but even if when you're recording. I mean, you can. I mean, Juan would tell you just doing voiceovers, you can give somebody 2 lines and it's like half a day.
Yeah, maybe not that bad, but
no. I know. I'm just saying in general.
And it's very different than it's very different when you think like, oh, I can read this chunk of language, and then someone puts a microphone on your face and they're recording and they're watching you read it. That kind of thing starts to border on some of the fears that people have with public speaking. It's a scary proposition for a lot of folks
But I think the issue that people aren't giving him that much of a break is if you ever watch a Floyd Mayweather press conference, he has no problem speaking that at all whatsoever. So
I mean, true, but also people are kind of different too. Like some people are good at that, but when you give them paper, it's like
he might be a little dyslexic. Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows? It might be just a problem that literacy is even a problem in colleges as well. So
that's true.
You have a lot of people who graduate high school and the literacy level is still at a 4th grade level.
Yeah, it's true. That's very, very true. But that's, I guess, my uselessness. More so because the Breakfast Club was a little bit mean. I usually laugh at Charlamagne. That was a little mean. 50 Cent was keeping it kind of funny, but that was a little mean on their part. But that's probably, I would say, the closest uselessness / funniness of the day. If you can go and just Google it and just watch 50 Cent's videos.
How about that Airbnb stuff though?
Huh?
But the New York Attorney General is asking for about 120 Airbnb host names.
Why?
Why do you think?
Because they're doing illicit activities for Airbnb.
That's what I'm thinking there. Airbnb has had a problem where people rent out their apartments thinking it's going to be used for somebody from out of state, out of country coming into, for just to stay while they, browse the great city or wherever the apartment resides. But people have been using that, using Airbnb to do somewhat illicit activity. People have been
brothel housing.
Yeah. So
who didn't expect that? Like, really?
I guess this might be what it's all about, but the details are kind of scant. But that might be it. So Airbnb might be facing a little bit more trouble down the line.
Before we continue, Lou Rod 76 says Floyd responds with $1 million to get 50 sons to say "I love you, Dad."
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, I saw that too.
See, Floyd. Now, the last time somebody went at 50 Cent's like kid or / baby mama went by the name of Rick Ross. He has been regulated to being a second-rate rapper for the rest of his life. He can't get up to the top here. He's here. Do you see what he did to Rick Ross? Do you think he can't do that to you?
No, I mean, but Floyd is different. Though. Floyd just has to go to the ring and beat somebody up again.
Exactly.
And
he probably could do it.
While he's walking out with Justin Bieber.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when he's still winning fights. Like Let
me put it this way. He can walk out with Justin Bieber and still have no one talk trash to his face. End. That's it. That's Floyd Mayweather.
Who's gonna talk trash to his face? Nobody wants to get punched.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to get punched.
All right. On that note, let's go to the giveaway for this week. This one was brought to us by Juan. Juan's question is, well, since we know the weight and the mate, W. Since we know
No,
the
just bless you for trying.
yeah. Since we know the perceived battery lives of both the W8 and the M8, we want to know which do you think would win? Is that the question, right? Am I getting it right, or did I just make a mistake?
Yeah, like if you had a cage match between the M8 and the W8, who would win in a cage match, battle royale, fight to the death?
Yeah, so
hard King of the Ring style metal cage battle.
Yeah, so this is
comment below.
Yeah, exactly. This is your pure Android versus Windows Phone argument, right? With the same hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's the first time we'll actually be able to compare oranges to oranges. You know, like it's legitimately the only thing different about these two devices is the OS running.
Yeah, exactly. So let us know. And what do you get to win, Sam?
Oh, yeah. This rugged folio right here.
It's
rugged folio.
It's
It's a rugged folio by Zag. It's a it's a case for your iPad Mini. Has Bluetooth. It has a keyboard as well. You'd enjoy it. Everything a growing boy needs for his iPad Mini.
Do you guys sense the irony here? The competition is between Windows Phone and Android, and we're giving away an iOS accessory.
Oh, we're covering all our bases, man.
Well, for other things.
All our bases, man.
Yes. So again, all you have to do is subscribe to all the channels: Booredatwork, Some Gadget Guy, as well as BW1, and then just leave a comment on which you think you'll win with this video, and that's it. We'll announce the winners next week. So, all right, guys, can you just let people know what to expect next week? Juan, what can we expect from you on your channel?
More accessory reviews. I've been having a lot of fun with cases and covers and stuff like that. And then I'm also working with Photo Jojo on these lenses. I already did one video on the wide-angle lens. I took it to the Peterson Auto Museum, so I got a bunch of really cool shots of cars with a wide-angle lens. But then also, I haven't seen anything reviewed like this for Windows Phone cameras, and especially as Nokia has some of the best cameras out there, I figured why not pair them up with some really good cameras. So be on the lookout for more of that, and then some other tips and tricks videos that we'll have out for photography on smartphones.
Okay. How about you, Warren?
This week I'm finally gonna get back to doing some videos. I've kind of been away this past week with some stuff I had to take care of. So be some more accessory reviews, and I think I got another how-to video coming up as well.
All right, cool. And how about you, Sam? What could we expect from you this week?
Oh man, the same thing you expect from me every week, but I'll throw Y40 in as well. So we'll get the Y40, and I'm still drudging along trying to get that Can-Am stuff done. Hey, it's not as easy as it sounds, but we'll get it. We'll get it done and out to you guys. But yeah, it's gonna be most of the Y40. We'll be getting some gaming done on that, and it's a pretty good device for what it is. For the price point, it's a pretty decent device, and you guys will be able to see how it handles a decent DirectX 11 game.
All right, cool. And for me, it would be the OnePlus One, and I'll probably do some battles with it just to showcase with some other devices. So far, it's good, except you can't buy it. So.
It doesn't really.
Unless you're a female and you take a picture of yourself. Oh, you can't do that anymore either? Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But anyway, guys, thank you very much. Don't forget to check out the channel, Some Gadget Guy. It's Mr. Warren Bagnell on YouTube. Also follow him on Twitter. It's Some Gadget Guy, and all his other social outlets. And of course, Mr. Warren Bowman at Booredatwork.com. That's BW1. On YouTube, and then of course follow him on Twitter and his other social outlets. And Mr. Sam, aka Black Iron Man, that is his Twitter handle from Bored at Work. And myself, Thunder E, it's Bored at Work on YouTube, Twitter, and all the other social outlets. And I'm saying thank you and always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.